Hello and welcome to Clear Concept CSE. Today we are starting with the chapter 4, the Mahajanapads. The 6th century is known as the era of second urbanization in the Indian subcontinent. After the decline of the Harappan towns and nearly after a gap of more than 1,000 years, the urban centers emerged again, but not in the Indus plain, but they had shifted from northwest to the eastern UP and Bihar. This region was not only fertile on account of better rainfall and river systems, यहाँ पे आयरन वेपन्स भी बनाए गए थे जो कि वॉरियर क्लास के लिए बहुत ज़्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट थे एंड स्लोली पीपल गेन्ड अ स्ट्रॉन्ग एलिजेंस टू द टेरिटरी. These permanent settlements led to the foundation of the Janpadas or territorial states under the control of the king. According to the Buddhist text Anguttara Nikaya, there were 16 Mahajanpads in total. इनमें सबसे पहले आता है अंग जो है मॉडर्न बिहार. उसके बाद चंपा, काशी, कोसल, वज्जी, मल्लास और लास्ट में आता है छेदी. इनमें से एक कोसल रामायण काल का है और बाकी काफ़ी सारे महाभारत काल के भी बताए जाते हैं. तो प्लीज़ मेक श्योर कि आप इन सबको नोट करें. इनके किंग्स कहाँ कहाँ ये थे, इनके आसपास के रिवर्स, ये सब प्रीलिम्स के सवाल बन सकते हैं बहुत आसानी से और किसी भी गवर्नमेंट एग्जाम में पूछे जा सकते हैं. सो प्लीज़ नोट देम डाउन. इसके अलावा वी हैव वत्सा, कुरु, पंचाल, मत्स्य, शुरारेन, अवंती एंड गंधार. Many of these Mahajanpads date back to the time of Mahabharata. एंड लास्टली कंबोजा, असक्का एंड मगध, ये भी महाजनपद्स की लिस्ट में आते हैं. तो टोटल देयर आर 16 महाजनपद्स. मेक श्योर टू नोट देम ऑल. हर एक के अपने फीचर्स हैं, अपने लोकेशंस हैं और अपनी अपनी जो है खूबी है, तो वो आप ज़रूर नोट करिएगा. नेक्स्ट अप वी हैव द गण संघास. द चीफ ऑफिस was not hereditary and was known as Ganapati or Ganaraja. The power was vested in an aristocratic council comprising heads of leading Kshatriya families. Most of the Ganas were located in or near the Himalayan foothills of eastern India, which also suggests that probably their establishment predated the transition to kingdoms, as clearly wooded low-lying hills were comparatively easier than the marshy lands. Major kingdoms generally occupied the fertile alluvial tracts of the Ganga Valley. The Ganasanghas were based in a smaller geographical area and had more representative government. The discussion matters were placed before the assembly, who met in a hall called Santhagara. Gana Puraka was responsible for ensuring quorum. The council discussed and debated the issues and they were put to a vote. Voting was done by the pieces of wood known as salakas, and Salaka Gahapak, the collector of votes, ensured honesty and impartiality. Political power was concentrated in the king, who was advised and assisted by the ministers such as Parishad and Sabha. Out. Now let's talk about the political conflicts and the pre-emergence of Magad. The political conflict among the Mahajanpads ultimately led to the emergence of Magad as the most powerful state and the center of a vast empire. Its rise to political supremacy began with Bimbisara, who belonged to the Haryanka dynasty and ruled for 52 years. In the Mahavamsha, it is stated that he was appointed as king by his father at the age of 15, which suggests that he was not the founder. He was a contemporary of both Buddha and Mahavira and paid equal respect to both. Through his conquests and diplomacy, Bimbisara made Magad the paramount power. He pursued a three-pronged policy, namely matrimonial alliances, friendship with strong rulers, and conquest of weak neighborhoods to expand the empire. The founder is probably the grandfather of Bimbisara. Actual foundation was done by Bimbisara. Capital was at Rajgriha, which was an impressive city and almost impregnable, as surrounded by five hills, the openings in which were closed by stone walls on all sides. Earlier, he had rivalry with Avanti's king Pradyota, but later became friends, and Bimbisar even sent his royal physician, Jivaka, to Ujjain when Pradyota had jaundice. He also conquered Ang by defeating his ruler Brahmadatta. He strengthened his position by matrimonial alliances. The first wife was from Kosal, named Mahakoshala, sister of Prasenji, who brought in dowry the territory of Kashi, which yielded a revenue of 1 lakh coins. Lichavi Princess Chelana from Vaishali was the second wife, who gave birth to Ajat. She was the daughter of chief of Madra clan in Punjab, Ajat. He was the son of Bimbisara. He was known for being impatient. He ruled Magad and is believed to have killed his father and seized the throne. most powerful and aggressive ruler of the Haranka dynasty, and followed his father's expansionist policy through military conquest. He annexed Kosal. He also fought with his maternal grandfather Chetak, the chief of Vaishali, and after 16 long years of war, Ajatashatru succeeded in breaking the might of Vaishali. Therefore, he not only retained Kashi but also added Vaishali to Magad. He began the fortification of Rajagriha to meet the danger of invasion posed by the ruler of Avanti. The Buddha died during his reign. He arranged the first Buddhist council. Coming to Udaybhadra, also called Udayin, he founded the new capital of Patliputra, which is modern day Patna. Situated at the confluence of Ganga and Son rivers, Patliputra had a very strategic location as it lay at the center of the Magadhan kingdom, which then extended from the Himalayas in the north to the Chota Nagpur hills in the south. He was probably murdered at the instigation of Palaka, the king of Avanti. Let's talk about the Shishunaga dynasty. शिशुनागा पहले अमात्य थे अमात्य यानी वाइसरॉय ऑफ बनारस एंड इट इज बिलीव दैट द पीपल ऑफ मगध वो उदयन के जो सक्सेसर्स थे उनसे बहुत तंग आ चुके थे तो उन्होंने शिशुनागा को एज अ किंग अपॉइंट कर दिया इन्होंने टेम्परेरीली शिफ्टेड कैपिटल टू वैशाली द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट अचीवमेंट ऑफ शिशुनागा was to defeat अवंती उज्जैन के थे एंड दे वर वेरी पावरफुल and make it a part of Magad. This brought an end to 100-year-old rivalry between Magad and Avanti. इसके बाद है काल अशोक सन एक्स सक्सेसर ऑफ शिशुनागा ऑल्सो नोन एज काकरवर्ण अकॉर्डिंग टू द पुरानास सेकेंड बुद्धिस्ट काउंसिल इनके रेन में वैशाली में की गई थी इसके बाद आते हैं नंदा डायनेस्टी पे इट वॉज द फर्स्ट नॉन क्षत्रिय डायनेस्टी महापद्मानंदा ऑल्सो कॉल्ड उग्रसेन इन पाली टेक्स्ट बिकॉज ऑफ हिज लार्ज आर्मी अकॉर्डिंग टू ब्रह्मनिकल टेक्स्ट ही बिलोंग टू अ लो कास्ट और एटलीस्ट नॉन क्षत्रिय कास्ट हालांकि पुरानास के हिसाब से ही वॉज द सन ऑफ अ किंग ऑफ द शिशुनागा डायनेस्टी बाय अ शूद्र वुमन and thus the Nandas were considered adharmika, those who do not follow the norms of dharma. Buddhist texts often describe Nandas as belonging to Annatakula or unknown lineage, the first empire builder of India and claimed to be the Ekrat, the sole sovereign who destroyed all other ruling princes, and Sarvashatranataka, uprooter of the Kshatriyas. He added Kalinga to Magad and later on added Kosal as well. Then comes Dhananand. He was the last important king of the Nanda dynasty, identified with the Agramis or Zandramis or of Greek classical writers. He was credited with a huge army. It is believed that Alexander attacked Punjab during his reign, but his huge army checked them from advancing towards Magad. He is credited with the invention of Pakramini, a particular measuring standard. He is believed to be arrogant and oppressive ruler who imposed heavy taxes on the common man. His greed and exploitation made him quite unpopular among the masses, and ultimately Chandragupta Maurya defeated him with the help of Kautilya or Chanakya and took advantage of this public resentment and uprooted the Nanda rule and set up the Maurya Empire. Now, why exactly was Magad successful? You can see that in these causes. Magad could gradually establish its dominance over all the Mahajanapads on account of several factors. Firstly, Magad enjoyed an advantageous geographical position. Due to its proximity and control over richest iron deposits around South Bihar, Magad weapons were far superior and effective. Also, both of its capitals, Rajgriha and Patliputra, were situated as strategic points. Rajagriha was surrounded by five hills. This helped it to provide natural fortification and it was almost impregnable. Similarly, Patliputra was more like a water fort since it was situated at the confluence of the rivers Son and Ganga. Magad lay at the middle of the Gangetic plain, which had fertile alluvium soil and received heavy rainfall. Magad was the first state to use elephants on a large scale against its neighbors also. They were used in storming fortresses, marching over areas lacking roads or any other means of communication. They benefited from numerous able and ambitious rulers as well, such as Bimbisara, Ajatashatru, and Mahapadmananda. They employed all kinds of means to dispose and enlarge their kingdoms. Alexander invaded India in 326 BCE. It is considered that in the 4th century, the Greeks and the Persians fought for the supremacy of the world. After decisively defeating the Persian army, led by Darius, the Macedonian conqueror marched across the Persian Empire, entered the Indian provinces. Alexander was attracted towards India not because of its fabulous wealth, but also he was a student of geographical inquiry and natural history. He also wanted to solve the problem of the ocean, the limits of which were a puzzle to Greek geographers. The political situation of the northwestern India suited his plans at the time. The region was split up into Takshila, Punjab, Gandhar, etc., and no united or strong resistance was put across to Alexander except Porus, who fought in the Battle of Hydaspes on Jhelum. All the other kings submitted meekly. The king Ambi of Takshila was the first to surrender. When Alexander reached Beas, his soldiers, being war weary and homesick and diseased, refused to go further. Therefore, he was forced to retreat. To mark the farthest point of his advance, he erected 12 huge stones on the bank of river Beas. He died at Babylon, and since he barely had time to organize his conquests, the kingdoms were subsequently returned to them with a few changes, like some Greek governors and kingdom being divided into three parts. Let's talk about the administrative system. The king enjoyed the highest official status and ruled with the help of officials. Higher officials called Mahamatyas or Amatyas, who probably had executive, judicial, military functions as judge or ministers, and commander was called Senanayak. They were assisted by Ayuktas. It appears that high officers and ministers were largely recruited from the Brahman class and yielded considerable authority. The Buddhist text Mahaparinibbana Sutta mentions an influential minister named Vasakara of Magadh, who enabled Ajatashatru to conquer the Ganasangha of Vajjis by effectively creating dissension in the ranks of Lichavis of Vaishali. The real increase in state power is indicated by the formation of a large professional army. In order to sustain such a huge army, a fiscal system was required. Bali, a voluntary payment made by the tribesmen to their chiefs in the Vedic times, became a compulsory payment, and special officers called Bali Sadaks or Bali Sadaks were appointed to collect it. As mentioned earlier, it was one sixth of the produce. The advent of writing may have helped in the assessment of collection of taxes. In addition to taxes, peasants, artisans, and traders were subjected to forced labor for royal purposes. Popular assemblies like the Sabha and Samiti almost disappeared, and instead, a small body called the Parishad, consisting exclusively of Brahmins, served as an advisory council to the king. That's it for this chapter. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. Thank you.